Hello, in the last video we entered the Pirate's Fortress and acquired the hookshot as well as found the first Zora Egg in that room. Avail, the leader of the pirates, mentioned that they only had 4 Zora Eggs here in the fortress while the other 3 are missing. That means that we have 3 left to find here in the fortress, since I already have one in one of my bottles. For starters, now that we have the hookshot, we can reach some of the chests that you can see here on your mini-map in this outer area. To the far south of this upper platform, you can latch onto the targets to the south to reach the highest platform in the fortress, which has a chest containing 20 rupees. You can then hop down to the north and open another chest which has another 20 rupees. From here you want to work your way to the southwest corner of the map where you'll see there's another target on an upper platform. There are 2 doorways here. In the western one, it leads to the lagoon where the patrol boats, so instead you want to go to enter the east doorway, which is right next to the target. This leads you to an inside area, and in this room we have several barrels that are lined up with a Gerudo Guard patrolling counterclockwise in the middle. If you have the stone mask, you can simply run through here. Otherwise, you want to stay far back so that you do not draw her attention. Wait for her to be at the farthest point before you start making a dash for the door. As you enter this next room, the door will slam shut behind you, and once you enter the middle of the room, you'll encounter a new enemy called simply a pirate. These Gerudos were in the last game as well, and they fought the same way. The only difference is that this time their jumping attack only damages you rather than knocking you out. There are several different ways to fight them actually, so I will be showing a different method for each one we see. Into regular form, you can Z-target them and use your shield to get close. This will taunt them into attacking, which will lower their defenses, so quickly stab them while their defenses are down, and then back up. This method is actually quite easy. It's a little bit tricky to get used to, but it's actually not that hard. Just get right in their face and then stab them. Just repeat this a few times to easily take care of her, and this is especially true if you have the Gilded Sword, which does more damage than the Kokiri Sword. Once she's done away with, she'll jump out of the room and unlock the door for you. So kind of her. She couldn't have just, left you there to rot, In the next room, you'll find the second Zora Egg. You want to use the hookshot to latch onto the wood above the tank, and then use the Zora Mask to jump in. Just try and wait until after the shell blade has traveled towards you, that way you have an opening between its attacks, so that when you jump in the water, it doesn't touch you. You want to target it, use your shield to get close, and then quickly stab it once it shows its tender mouth. After that, you want to swipe up the egg with an empty bottle. Alright, so we have 1 Zora Egg that we found in the same room that we got the hookshot, and now we have found 1 to the south. That gives us 2 eggs total, with 2 more remaining in the northern end of the Pirate's Fortress. Now, if you've been following this walkthrough, you should have 4 bottles at this point, meaning that you can stick around and collect the remaining Zora Eggs. However, I'm betting that most of you that are watching these videos right now either have 2 or 3 bottles at this point and do not have 4 total. If that is true, you need to use your ocarina to warp to Great Bay Coast. Now, as long as we're warping, though, I'm going to empty my plump little wallet in Clocktown because it's almost full, and there are more rupees to get here in the fortress. So, as I said, if you have 4 bottles, you can stick around, and you can get the rest of the Zora Eggs and then warp back later. So you can just skip ahead in the video a little bit and continue right where I left off. But, like I say, if you only have 2 or 3 bottles, you need to warp to Great Bay Coast. So once you do get there, you want to enter the Marine Research Lab, which is the building that is right next to the owl statue. And the waters in the Great Bay have been unusually warm, which is apparently bad for baby Zoras. If you ask around, you'll discover that this is where you should take the eggs so that their condition can be stabilized. You want to climb up on top of the tank inside and use the bottles while standing over the grating. It actually only works in specific sweet spots on top of the tank, which is very misleading in my opinion. You just want to move around until you find the right place to dump out all of your eggs. Once you have emptied your bottles, you want to run back outside and jump into the water, swim to the northern part of Great Bay, and enter the Gerudo Lagoon again. It's really kind of a shame that Majora's Mask didn't have Farar's Wind, and that you could use it outside of temples. That would seriously make certain situations like this so much easier. But alas, that spell is only available in the previous game. This is my pouting face. As usual, you want to wait for a gap between the boats before you hop into the water, or just use the stone mask. At this point, you can enter the water channel and go through that huge maze to finally officially enter the fortress again, but now that we have the hookshot, we have a shortcut we can use. Ooh. You want to swim all the way to the north and climb onto that northern platform again that had the Goron switch on it. Straight ahead, you'll see a target on the wall, so hookshot to it, circle around, and enter the fortress. This saves us a lot of traveling. Alright, now we're back. Now, you may or may not have dumped out your bottles depending on how many you have, but either way, the remaining 2 Zora Eggs are both to the north. Use the target here to pull yourself up to the first platform, turn up to the left, and find another target pillar. Just get up there and enter this doorway. Now this area immediately tees into a hallway with a patrolling Gerudo Guard who will see you if you stand too close, so instead stay back and be prepared to either hit her with an arrow or your hookshot. Once she hits the floor, then run for the door on the left. As usual, once you enter these rooms, you'll face off with a pirate. Dun dun dun. Ironically, one of the best things you can use against them is the Deku Mask. You want to defend if she gets too close and then back up, because she'll just keep swiping at you. The trick is to back up and then spin towards her. This will cause her to start spinning, or start slashing at you, which will lower her defenses. And because you're spinning, this will stun her. So you can use this opportunity to either hit her with a bubble, or you can take off the Deku Mask and smack her with your sword. You actually do more damage with your sword, so either way. Now, one thing you can do that makes this funky is if you stay too close, because then she'll just smack you over and over again. You need to defend to get some distance between you and then spin into her again. So that is one method of defeating the pirates, is you can use the Deku Mask to stun her. Makes it very easy. Alrighty, in this room we have another tank with a Zora Egg in it, but this one is guarded by a new enemy called a Desbrecco. It's a big skeletal piranha-like fish that will chase you down and munch on you if given the chance. There are a bunch of skullfish that are swimming around it, but they are technically part of the same enemy. You can jump in the water with the Zora Mask and use the R button to kill it with the electrical barrier attack, but you'll probably take damage doing that. Instead, you can stand above the tank and target it and shoot it with either arrows or the hookshot. Now, one word of warning, if you do use the hookshot, be careful because it will actually go through it, meaning that you can accidentally latch onto the chest and pull yourself into the water with the flesh-eating skeleton fishies. Not that I've done that on accident, of course. Anyway, when it's dead, you want to hop in and swipe up the third Zora Egg, and then open up the chest to find a red ruby, which is worth 20. Yeah! The last egg is found to the north as well. You want to hookshot up the first two targets and then turn to the northeast and latch onto the target pillar that is up there on the highest platform. Be careful for the Gerudo Patrol who goes across the bridge and circles around the barrel over there. Now you can take her out with arrows and the hookshot from afar. Just be careful not to accidentally latch onto the barrel instead, getting yourself caught. Not that I've ever done that either. Now in this next room there are 3 Gerudo Guards that are patrolling back and forth. Apparently they just don't look up, otherwise you would get caught. But maybe they're like horses with their blinders on or something. Now you can either smack them with ranged weapons and then quickly run to the other ramp, or you can hookshot to the wooden beams and work your way across the platforms. Now if you want to get the chest in the middle, you can only truly make it if you have the stone mask. While wearing this awesome chunk of rock, you'll be invisible to the purple-clad ladies. Now I'm just going to smack one of them and open the chest to make my point, but it contains a silver rupee, which is worth 100, which is awesome, but you'll notice that the chick I just knocked down gets up pretty darn quick, so you will not be able to knock out all the ladies and then open the chest before you get noticed. So without the stone mask, you'll be able to get the silver rupee, but you will get tossed out of the fortress, guaranteed. So I've tried this several times, and I get caught every time trying that. So anyways, you can get the silver rupee if you want. I really only recommend it if you have the stone mask. There's other ways we can make rupees, so it's not really worth it if you have to go through all the trouble of traveling like that. For the last pirate, I wear the stone mask here so that you can see the change in her dialogue. Apparently they don't fall for this trick. The last real effective way to beat these women is to use the Zora Mask. Unfortunately, your regular stabbing attacks don't work very well, but you can keep your distance and charge up your fins to release the double cutters, which will stun her temporarily. Now, if you leave the Zora Mask on, you'll have to wait for the fins to come back to you, so instead I recommend you actually take off the mask and smack her while she is stunned. The other trick you can use is to defend with R and use the B button, R and B together to use the electric barrier, and while using this attack you can touch her to stun her, and then quickly smack her or take off the Zora Mask and use your sword to do more damage. Unfortunately, this method costs a lot of magic, so that's a bummer, but I do want to point out that using the electric barrier, that as I just showed, is basically the exact same thing as spinning into them with the Deku Mask, which doesn't use any magic at all. In other words, that option is better. There are a lot of people that swear by using the Zora Mask just because they think it's fun, but as you saw, it's a little more awkward. It's a little bit harder to avoid taking damage as well, and it doesn't do as much damage. Like, your bubbles do more damage than the Zora swipe with the fins. So, anyway, I recommend against using the Zora Mask to defeat the pirates. So anyway, that is the third option to defeat the pirates, but after she leaves, you want to enter the next door to find the last tank with the 4th Zora Egg found in the pirates' fortress. Yeah! So snag this one just as you did the others, and then back in Chapter 7, I went to the Ikana Graveyard, which we don't technically have to do until later, but it's one of the things that we can get there is the 4th bottle. So if you did that with me, that allows you to complete the pirates' fortress without warping back and coming back, which is kind of nice. Okay, so now that we have all of these Zora eggs found here, do not leave. The very next thing we need to do involves getting a picture of a pirate with your pictograph box. Run outside, and if you have the stone mask, I highly recommend you use that, so you can easily get a picture of one of them while standing right next to them. The goal is to get their whole body within the picture, preferably filling up most of it, so if you're too far away or part of them is chopped off, it will not count, and you'll have to come back and take another picture, which is really obnoxious. And you cannot take multiple pictures either. Now, if you do not have the stone mask, instead I recommend you stand on the stairs here. This way they will not be able to catch you, and you can still get a good picture of them. You could also shoot them with arrows and then take a picture of them lying on the ground so you can get closer, but that's a bit risky, and sometimes the picture doesn't work out. So once you do have a good picture of a pirate, you want to play the Song of Soaring and warp back to Great Bay Coast. So as I explained earlier in the video, we need to get all of the Zora eggs and take them to the Marine Research Lab. You want to enter and climb up the side and then stand above the giant tank itself and use your bottles to dump them in. You have to stand just right, so just wiggle about until you manage to find the correct spot where the eggs will actually get dumped in. If it just says, "I'm sorry, you can't use this item here," then you just need to move over a little bit. I think that's very misleading that they do that, but whatever. You know, as long as you're standing somewhat near the center of the tank, you should be fine. So that's it for this video, folks, so just join me for the next one, and I will show you where to find the remaining 3 Zora eggs.